Happy New Year's, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown, our very first of 2023. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from German heavy metal, gothic metal crew Lord of the Lost, entitled Blood and Glitter. This is the 8th studio album from Lord of the Lost, dropping more or less out of the blue on December 30th. No major announcements, no long build-up, no nothing like that. Longtime viewers and subscribers and fans, and maybe even some people who are not fans of the Metal Meltdown may remember that I reviewed their previous studio album, Judas, in the summer of 2021, and later named it one of the worst albums of 2021. While I admired the idea of a concept album centered around Judas, I ultimately felt that the album didn't really capitalize on that idea, not to a really full and rewarding extent. And I also felt that the album was somewhat overblown, somewhat overdramatic, and that the music itself was extremely repetitive and dull. With this in mind, you'd be safe to assume that I would either avoid Blood and Glitter like the actual plague, or that I'd be ready to tear it a brand new asshole in today's video. Neither is the case. Obviously, I'm not going to avoid it like the plague because here we are talking about it. And I'm happy that I'm not avoiding it like the plague because, honestly, while not a perfect album, big step up from Judas. Big step up, right off the bat. The songs are punchier, catchier, more distinct, more diverse, more dynamic, more versatile. It is sonically an abrasive record with some more heavy guitar tones and some more screams and gutturals and a kind of like marching urgency I would almost expect out of Rammstein. But it's also got the glitz and the glamour of like 1980s synth pop and new wave and glam. A lot of 80s synth work, a lot of dancey, groovy beats, and such. The 80s vibes are strong with this one. There are a lot of guest stars, a lot of collaborators on this thing as well, throwing their own unique spices and flavors into the stock pot. You've got Marcus Bischoff from Heaven Shall Burn, Andy LaPlaga from Combi Christ, Ali Storch from Subway to Sally, German pop star Blümchen, known here in North America as Blossom. And honestly, all of this makes for a consistently interesting experience on Blood and Glitter. Not every song do be a banger, but, you know, more often than not, songs do be bangers. And even the ones that don't do be bangers do be at least giving me something interesting. Why am I talking like fucking Jar Jar Binks now? Look, the point is, the album, honestly, it's good. It's better than I thought it would be. You've got the title track, Blood and Glitter, for instance, opening this album on a very anthemic and inspired note with a simple but effective and enthusiastic fusion of glam and industrial and hard rock energy. It's got a good beat, it's got a solid chorus, it's got some goofier kind of electronic percussion in the pre-chorus that feels like it was ripped from a Rick Astley song, but honestly, I kind of dig it. It's kind of silly and cheesy, but like in a fun, endearing kind of way. It does a good job at balancing a kind of like melancholy I would expect of classic goth rock with like the brighter sensibilities of like glam and pop. And it's a solid way to start off the album. Songs like Destruction Manual, No Respect for Disrespect go a little bit further into the metal and pop and 80s realms altogether, you know, bringing in harder beats, bringing in more synthesizers, some more savage riffery even. Then you have stuff like One Last Song and Save Our Souls, which are a little bit more lush, a little bit more epic, a little bit more cinematic. There's more string work, you know, everything is a little bit bolder and a little bit more emotive. I'm not really a big fan of cover songs, and I even find myself enjoying Lord of the Lost's version of The Look, originally from Roxette. I think Blümchen on backing vocals brings a lot of really cool energy to this. I like the synth work, I like the bass work, I like Chris's vocals here, you know, kind of bringing in more of that gothic melancholy and pairing it nicely with the 80s pop vibes. Probably the cheeriest, happiest, poppiest piece of, like, goth metal, dark wave I think you'll hear in a while, but, I mean, fuck it, it works, honestly. Now, there are some notable bumps to be found. For instance, Reset the Preset, which is just kind of a random clusterfuck of a bunch of different attitudes and moods and genres. And then there's the absolute cringe fest of Leave Your Hate in the Comments. Musically, this thing feels like if Motionless in White tried to write and produce and record a Rammstein song. It has all of these overly aggressive beats and rhythms and grooves, snarling, screaming vocals, a big, bold, triumphant chorus. It even throws in some turntables for some reason in the very beginning. I don't fucking know why. I also don't care. Lyrically, it just kind of reads as a band being unable to cope with any kind of negative commentary or criticism whatsoever. I mean, I think the intention is to, like, humiliate and provoke people that Lord of the Lost would consider to be online trolls or people who are unnecessarily harsh or critical, but, I mean, to me, it just reads as them, like, having an absolute bitch fest. I mean, there's just a bunch of really tired and childish and juvenile jokes and insults thrown out all over the place. There's a lot of, like, explicit language. Even a homophobic slur is dropped. Yeah, not a good look, Lord of the Lost. This is not a good look for y'all. All that aside, credit where it's due, I think Lord of the Lost have made something that is consistently pretty entertaining, consistently kind of imaginative and interesting. I would give this a solid 3 out of 5, maybe leaning towards a 2.5 out of 5. You lose some points for, you know, Leave Your Hate in the Comments, not gonna lie. But, you know, with 3 out of 5 nonetheless, I think it's decent. I think it's well made. I think there are a lot of fun songs. I think there are a lot of cool beats and moments. I think people who really like Lord of the Lost are going to really enjoy this record. I guess if you were looking for something more in the vein of something like Judas, you don't want these heavier, poppier elements, maybe this would turn you off, but I mean, I don't know, it's not really that different or alienating. I'm not really sure where this would stand in the Lord of the Lost discography, because overall I'm not the most familiar with their discography, but I will say of everything I've heard from them, this is probably my favorite. Definitely, as I said before, a big step up from Judas. There's still some work to be done in my opinion, but all in all, 3 out of 5, leaning towards a 2.5 out of 5, but still a 3 out of 5. Honestly, it's decent. I enjoyed this way more than I thought I would. Check it out. Why not? Maybe skip Leave Your Hate in the Comments and Reset the Preset, though. Just maybe skip those two, just to be super safe. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.